right, good morning, everybody. I'll now call to order the meeting in the Nanticoke Riverfest. I hope everybody's having a good Thursday. The first thing I want to start out with is I've printed out Saturday's lineup, a schedule of events for everyone. I'll send out a digital copy. Please look over it. If I've missed something or you see the need for any changes or additions, let me know, but I'm pretty sure I've got everything on there, including the road closures for 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. Thank you for those who sent out your changes to all the program articles. I submitted those to Mike yesterday, and then I'll be editing those to put in the paper next week. If you have any changes, thank you. If you have any changes to the tents, tables, and chairs, please see me directly after. I know that a couple of you may need some changes, and none of that was returned back to me. So I'd like to put that order in either today or tomorrow. So if you think you need any changes, please let me know as soon as possible. I just wanted to show everybody this isn't the final version, but this is probably the poster that we're going to send around if you want to take a look at it, that we'll put downtown. I believe that Ashley and Toby walked down to the businesses last year, or in 2019. I believe Ashley said she would also help with that again this year. We'll probably do that closer to the 1st of July. I don't really have an update. I know I filled out the permits for DENREC. I've not received those back, but I will be contacting them either the end of this week or the 1st of next week to get them to test the water. We don't want them to test the water right now after that big rain, so they probably will give it a few weeks or a week or two before they come out. I'll update you, Charles, as soon as I know and that report comes back. One of the big things, I know, Tracy, you'll touch on volunteers, but I did talk to Senior Chief Rowe and Commander Lott. ROTC will not be available this year, and so that's a big hit to some of our volunteers for setup and breakdown. I believe Tyler Justice for PD is hosting like a kids PD, the Youth Academy, and when I passed by, they had about, I think, 10 to 13 kids. So I was going to reach out to him to see if any of those guys would be interested, at least for setup, breakdown, maybe trash throughout the day, since we will not have the ROTC kids. It may be some of the same kids, but I just kind of.
They graduate tomorrow.
They graduate tomorrow?
I think it's a week long.
Okay. I'll reach out to him today. I'll send him a message. That's all I really have for first thing this morning as far as event schedule, lineup, and such. If we want to go ahead and start with committee reports, Charles, you can start.
Yeah, for the float-in, I really have no update. We're in a good situation. There's nothing that we need or anything of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Charles, is the time right?
I believe it is 8:30.
Registration though is only a half hour?
That's typically when we do it. Yeah.
And I will, sorry.
We'll be there a little early so we can start taking them in once a line forms. But.
And I will say, I talked to Service Tire Truck Center the other day. I know that some of the bigger floats that come in kind of hurt their compressors. So United Rentals is very graciously donating one of their very large commercial compressors. So they should be able to do 4 lines at one time instead of 2. So that may help with the swing of things.
Will they be there and man that?
No, they will be essentially donating it to Service Tire Truck Center. And okay. Now that Mike's here, he can probably repeat exactly what I said. But the guys from Service Tire Truck Center will be the ones operating it. that day.
Tina, we'll look at that start time, and we can, before we publish this, if you feel like we need to back it up to 7:30, we can do that.
I think it's been it's been between a half hour or an hour in the past. It just depends on how early the actual float-in starts. It's really up to you all if you would prefer registration start at 7:30, or if you think you
wanna do
can get them.
7:45?
We'll split the difference.
Here's the question, we usually have a problem stacking
Mike,
up.
you got to use the mic. Sorry.
Mike the mic.
Please use the mic.
Are we better off to start it closer to the time when we can actually get the people right in the water, and not stack them up as deep?
And that's what,
That might be-
that's what we have now.
Because then I remember you told me that the actual tide changes almost like 6 o'clock or something.
Yeah, it's early.
So the water should be actually flowing really well this year as
At
compared to
8:30.
years in the past. So we should be able to
That's
put them right in the water, which is going to
We
get
just
it
don't
going
want to
quicker.
back them up on the road.
Right, that's what I'm thinking, we can get them at,
Just stick with it.
Stick, yeah. And again, we'll take people a little early, get them in line if they show up early, so,
Okay, thank you.
situation averted.
Toby?
Good morning.
Good morning.
We do have some changes to the paddle event. Instead of it being a poker paddle, because of the concern with the state that that might be gambling, and we needed a gambling license, we've changed it to the Oyster House paddle to celebrate the new Oyster House. So, and instead of playing cards, people will draw an oyster shell with a number on it. And so then we'll draw at 5 o'clock for prizes. So I hope to have about 10 prizes, so.
And we'll be partnering with the Nanacoke Watershed Alliance for the event. So they'll also be down there with some information. They're going to help us get the shells and stuff, but they'll essentially be a co-host of the event.
Yeah, and help get the word out too. So
Yes.
Lisa said she'll e-blast it out, so. So that's exciting. It'd be $25 per person. We won't have any advance registration, just, because, you need a package and a way for people to pay and all that kind of stuff, so. And we'll primarily use the Facebook page to get the word out, so, because, I can change that more readily.
Yes, and I did speak with Dave Layton. Sorry, I didn't write it down in my notes. The Riverfest website has been updated. I do need to talk to him on the left-hand side. It does say poker paddle still, but he has the correct flyer attached to it. So I'll just see if he can go in and change that. But the date, the logos, et cetera, the float-in, that has all been updated. So that's good. Hopefully he'll just continue to add more detail as he works on it.
Great, okay. That's it for the paddle event. Any questions? Any questions? I love this thing.
Thank you, Toby. Jessica?
As of right now, we have 29 registered vendors, 2 crafters, 9 food, 5 nonprofits or churches, and 13 businesses. I do need to reach out to a couple of them that we have people still reaching out, even though last Friday was the deadline we kind of set forth. And a couple of them have returned their paperwork, but not their payment yet. So I do need to reach back out to them, and we are going to go ahead and start with the lineup and see what we have left as some last-minute people filter in.
Okay,
But that's about everything.
thank you.
Great. If I could just make a comment about an idea that came up. I have a friend across the bay, way across the bay, and he's a big kayak fan. And his son has a friend who has an oyster business. So they go to festivals and they sell oysters and stuff. So I tried to get them, to do that for Riverfest, but yeah, he didn't have time. He's got a full-time job and he does this on the side. So he said maybe next year. So if anybody knows of any people that, oyster bars or something that, they'd be kind of a nice tie-in with the Oyster House.
Yeah, I think maybe, should all go forward, yes, or should all move forward next year. That would be a good idea to have maybe down at that area because it'll be more developed there. So, have a-
One question in regards to that.
you have
I
to use.
I have a friend who is a waterman and does have his own boat, goes out every day. He fits the description of what you're talking about, but the question is, what would I tell him as far as, would he be marketing his his oysters by the bag or by the bushel at the event? And if so, how many bushels or bags of oysters would you recommend he bring? And would it even be worth his while to take a day off to do this? I'm just curious.
I think it's a little late right now. I mean, since we're less than a month out. I think it's a great idea, but it's just something that, keep in the back of your mind, maybe for next year. Or if we end up doing anything else that's very centric to Oyster House property, I think that would be a great addition to have for any type of event down there. So, but that's definitely something we can think about next year.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking in terms of, like at an oyster bar you go, that maybe somebody could have one of those containers with ice and the oysters right there, so people would be $1 an oyster or whatever get a half dozen oysters, or, I mean, I'm not an oyster eater, so I'm not but some people are, they love them, so.
All right. Thank you. Erica?
So we're doing really well financially. The sponsorships just kind of keep rolling in, which is great. We have a little over $13,000 that we've received so far, 8 diamond sponsors, and we also have a few more sponsors who have committed, including M&T Bank and the Pete Store and one other one.
I think Cheney Enterprises.
Cheney, and then the other one that's somehow related to the Oyster House Park. We've had several related to that, several of those partners.
Landscape Architecture Services. Oh, Distant in June.
There was one other one that yesterday, the one you emailed me, but I don't remember what it was.
Haynes,
Okay.
I think is the last name. Hines, excuse me, John Hines.
But anyway,
Please
we've had
excuse me.
several of those partners, come forward to support us, which is great. So overall, I think we're in good shape.
That's awesome. Thank you. Annette?
Nothing really new to report. Children's areas ready to go. Got my kinetic sand stations ready, so we'll have 6 kinetic play sand stations at the children's area as well.
And you've also completed the clues for the Hidden Idol,
Yes.
which will be published.
Yep.
So I'm curious to see how that goes this year.
Yep,
Thank you for doing
all
that.
ready to go. Right. I know. Well, I try to make it hard, so.
Bill?
Again, good morning, all. Thank you for straightening me out on the pre-registration, because it was kind of, hit me kind of sideways when he said he'd pre-registered, and I said, how did you do that? And he said that he had came to the town hall and left his money here. So, yeah, I'm going to separate the table into, I'll probably have cardboard boxes with the pre-registrations and the registration cards that people can pick one up, go to another table with a pen and pencil, and make out their information, and then come back and hand money in, and then we'll pre-register them. Now, each one will get something like this. This is what Nina handed
Dina, yes.
me, but we would have to get that logo here.
I believe she is going to update that for you.
Okay, all right.
And then for for your other sheet that you have,
Yes,
those are for all car show participants.
Yeah, they'll be just-
It's not for the public, it's for all the participants.
Oh, in
So
other words-
it's a participant's choice, so they can get that when they register their card. So if that way it's participant choice, not public choice,
Oh, I
that
thought
we
it was
talked
gonna be a
about.
Public choice.
No, I think when I'm looking at it, it says participant, so I believe everybody that registered has a chance to vote for their favorite car,
Okay.
and that's what that category is as far
I
as
thought
that
I was going
trophy
to have,
goes.
500 of these on the table, and people would just, come by and pick one up and vote for their favorite car. So it's not going to be a public choice.
No, I believe it's just participants, and I believe that's just how it's
Okay, well,
been
that
over
will
the
limit
years.
it a great deal. Then we have this other problem that was brought up to me at the Eastern Shore Corvette meeting, that if you have something like this and it has the owner's name on it, then it more or less becomes a popularity contest with people voting for a person rather than judging or voting for the car. And that person was annoyed with that idea. But I don't know any other way to do this. I mean,
To my knowledge, we have not had any of those problems in the past. Dina has not voiced any type of concern, so I wouldn't worry about it.
All right, again, I'm a little confused because Dina was saying she wanted out of this, but was willing to be in the background, and yet it appears she's doing so much that I don't exactly know what she is doing.
We'll make sure, if we can, early next week, maybe you, her, and I can sit down and have a separate meeting.
Good, because I'll go to her with something, and she'll say, well, I told Gail, you know, and, you know, we'd already
That's
come to
fine.
an agreement on that.
Yeah, I'll send you a message and we'll meet separately. That way we can all be on the same page as far as communicating.
Okay, and if you just wanted to hold up the
Oh.
tin, and that would be what a
The dash plaque.
dash plaque would look like for anybody who's interested.
Surprisingly, I've never seen one.
And I think that's just about it from my side.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Mike?
I've been dealing with the Lambton Bus Service and Service Tire, and we're all on schedule for our float in. I'm going to have to defer to Mr. Anderson on his talks with the site location people. So he met with those
We did.
a month or so ago.
Yep, got them their insurance certificate, so I think we're all in gear.
I'll
Spoke with
need
the
to
fire chief,
get one also for the loan,
title loan.
place next door.
already got it, I just haven't sent it to him.
Okay, well, I can take it out to him. If you have it, I want to talk to him
I don't know
anyway.
that
So
our fax, Dr. Diddy's his either, so.
I can take both of them, yeah.
Thank you.
That's all.
it? Okay. Thanks, Mike. Gary?
I don't have anything to report. Once we meet with everyone and get the list this afternoon or after the meeting, we can finalize tables and get that ordered.
All right. Thank you, Gary. Tracy?
The volunteer book is out. We really need to push for volunteers because I don't know that we'll get many. At this rate, at this point in time, we don't have too many. So
Okay.
if anyone knows of any organizations or youth or anyone that may need some community hours, we can provide them a letter if they would like.
Tracy, on the paddle event, I think we're good. So I think I put 4 volunteers
You
on there,
did.
but I think we're between the Watershed Alliance
Okay.
and some friends that owe me money, you know. I think we're good.
Okay.
And I also reached out to, when I found out that ROTC couldn't come, I reached out to Hope Church. They helped with the Easter egg hunt this year, and they provided probably at least 3 or 4 vendors. So they also said that they'd be willing to help out. I told them to call City Hall and to talk to you specifically about volunteers.
Right back.
I got one.
All right. Tina?
We did purchase the bikes. Other than that, I don't really have anything. Rick
Okay.
dropped off a check for that, correct?
And we
And a
got-
vendor space, correct? Okay.
Yes, Eagles, Wings, Hot Sauce will be there. All right, does anybody have anything else that they would like to discuss? Yes, Bill.
I forgot one other little thing. As far as trying to get people to help me with registration and parking cars and whatnot, 2 people have come up, and but I'm, because it's involves religion, and being that these people are Christians and they run churches in town. They run the Harvest Church. It's Kim and Tom Frowski from the Harvest Church. And I see here that you have another church represented here, so I don't know where it would be a problem. But they said they would come over by my table. I could maybe even set them up with a table. They want to, witness the people, and I figured they could, help walk around, help park cars, and wear their Christian shirts. Is that, I know where I come from, we had, when the Knights of Columbus wanted to put a creche on the town hall front lawn, we had what do you call it, the Jewish community, the synagogue, and we had the Muslims, and we had an atheist group that also needed to have their particular say.
I'll reach out to Tom. I have his contact information, just to make sure that we're clear whether or not they want an actual vendor space or if they just want to help volunteer with the car show.
Well, they said they weren't going to take a vendor space this year, but they were going to walk around and witness to people. In other words, wearing their shirts and.
It's okay. I'll speak with him about it. I'll just confirm everything, but thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
All right. With that, does anybody have anything else? No, ma'am. All right. Would somebody like to make a motion to end the meeting?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
Breakfast.